Hi, thank you for joining this week's Paralegal Power Break. And in this particular session, I am going to discuss alternative work arrangements for paralegals. We're going to talk about two different types of work arrangements for paralegals that are non-traditional. You have the freelance paralegal. So I just want to read a brief definition of the word freelance, which this was obtained from the Webster's Dictionary. And I just like to read definitions because it just gives you a better understanding of what that actually means so that you can make a differentiation between freelance work and virtual work, because it is different. Freelance is earning money by being hired to work on different jobs for short periods of time rather than by having a permanent job with one employer, also done or produced by a freelance worker. So this is similar to temporary work, but it is more your responsibility for obtaining those particular jobs. Like with a temporary agency, you sign up and they actually place you in a particular position. Here you can actually reach out to companies or have a website and have them reach out to you, whatever the case may be. But it provides a little bit more flexibility than temporary work. Or you can also be a freelance paralegal and work for a temporary agency. So again, with the freelance work, you are not that particular organization or that attorneys, you're not their employee. You're a independent contractor. And this is important when you're dealing with issues like taxes, because as an independent contractor, the person that is using your services, they are not responsible for paying any type of taxes associated with you as an employee. And they also are not responsible for any expenses like medical and dental. Now with the temporary agency, you can have the option of obtaining dental and medical, but with freelance paralegal work, there's not that option. And again, the employer doesn't have, or the person that's hiring you, not the employer, because again, you're not the employee. The person that is hiring you as a freelancer, they are not responsible for those particular types of expenses. Now with a freelance paralegal, you can either work with past employers. You can work on assignments that you actually initiate yourself, by doing your own promotions, or you can go through certain sites. Like one site that I actually love is Freelance. And there you actually bid for jobs, you create a profile, you can create a free profile, and then once someone is looking for a paralegal, a legal assistant, then you can just submit your profile, your interest for that particular job, and then that particular person that's looking for a freelance paralegal decides if your experience, your education, your credentials are what they are looking for. But in addition to that, they're also looking at how much you are willing to work on that job, because when you submit your interest for the job, you place in there how much you're willing to work for that particular job. So you have to keep in mind that you're competing against individuals across the US and even across the globe that are willing to do that work for a certain amount. So if you make your price too high, then that might knock you out of consideration. But if your background and your education and things of that nature is something that that employer finds to be exceptionally beneficial, then they may actually pay you that higher rate. But you have to keep that in mind when you are using those particular sites that you're bidding. It's kind of like at an auction. They are looking to have someone assist them on their project for the best possible rate, given that person's experience and educational background and their understanding of various systems and other things. So that is with freelance work. You are an independent contractor. You can work in the particular's office, you can have your own office, or you can work from home. Now, there's also virtual paralegal work. And this is different from freelance work in that you are not going to be working in that particular person's office, period. You will have your own office, or you'll be working from home, and you'll be working with that individual with computer. So you'll have to make sure that you have internet capability, fax machines, emails, and other particular systems so that you can effectively work with your client. What I find that works really well is using cloud-based case management systems, because they're secured. And so when you're sending messages, secured messages, they're secured. You send messages, or they're similar to emails within the system. They're extremely secured. You can also upload documents, send documents, billing, have a timer, time tracker, do all this within this system online. The benefit also of using the cloud-based systems is that it allows you to work with customers. So the firm's clients that they're working with, let's say on a particular case or project that you're assisting with, you can give that particular customer or client access to certain aspects of their file. So if they need to have access to a document to review or sign, you can give them access to the computer system, upload that document, and let them download it on their computer to sign it, upload it back to the system, so where you and the attorney both have access to it. Also, you can send messages to them. You can also give them access to the calendar, so they'll see upcoming hearing days and also other pertinent deadlines that they need to be privy to. So that's the great thing about using the cloud-based case management system when you're working as a virtual paralegal. There are several different cloud-based systems. You have Clio, Rocket Matter, LexisNexis has Firm Manager, and then you have Amicus, which has a cloud-based practice management system. Now, when you're working as a virtual paralegal and you're marketing yourself, the thing that you want to focus on is the fact that the attorney does not have overhead costs associated with you, as far as having a space for you to work out of, having to make sure that you have a phone, fax machine, email, access to case management systems, because that is your responsibility. So the difference between the virtual paralegal and the freelance paralegal is, as a freelance paralegal, that you may be working in that particular person's firm, that attorney's office, so they are responsible for making sure that you have a space to work out of, a computer, a phone, everything necessary for that, so that you can successfully work on that particular project that they've hired you to work on. As a virtual paralegal, you are responsible for that. So it cuts down on some additional costs other than just taxes and things like medical and dental. So when a firm or organization hires you as a virtual paralegal, they're not only cutting down on their taxes, dental, health, all those type of expenses related to having an employee, they're also cutting down on overhead costs associated with having a workspace available, having maybe an additional license for you to work in a case management system, having a phone system, email, and everything related to having you in their particular office, because you as a virtual paralegal have all these systems already set up, and you are responsible for the cost associated with that. So, that's the difference again between the freelance and the virtual paralegal. But also, as a virtual paralegal, you can really technically be an employee of an organization. You don't have to really be a freelance paralegal, because some firms, and especially as technology improves, will start to allow their employees, and I know some paralegals have done this, where they've worked remotely from home. So as a virtual paralegal, you can really technically be an employee of the firm, but just work virtually, where you have the computer and everything. Now, the issue with that, again, when you're in that particular role as a virtual paralegal, but you're an employee of that firm or organization, they are responsible for your taxes, taxes associated with you, wages, and most likely they'll be responsible for having, you having a computer and licensing for practice management systems and all of those things, because you are still their employee, so they're responsible for that. But as a freelance virtual paralegal, again, you are responsible for handling those particular type of costs. Now, just to read and reiterate the definition of virtual, it's being on or simulated on a computer or a computer network. So that's the primary focus, is that you're working on a computer for this particular attorney or attorneys or organization, and that's your working relationship. You're not in their office, you're actually working on a computer virtually. A good side, again, I mentioned before, is Freelance. They have their own system set up so you can work with attorneys. They're called workrooms. So if you don't have access to these certain systems, like cloud-based systems, and intranets and email, if you use Freelance or another freelance site, these particular things are set up for you so that you can work effectively with attorneys or your clients that you're working on. So, again, you as a paralegal, if you're looking for alternative work arrangements, freelancing is a great way to work. Virtual paralegal is a great way to work. You can do this on the side or full time. Now, you just have to make sure that if you're doing on the side, that you get some approval from your firm, because you might, first of all, some organizations don't allow moonlighting, which is you working for another organization while you're working for them. Some require approval, but then also you have to keep in mind that there might be some conflict of interest coming in when you're working for a firm as an employee, and you're also working as a virtual paralegal on the side. So you have to keep that in mind. But not only when you're working as an employee and a freelance paralegal or virtual paralegal on the side, when you're working as a virtual paralegal or freelance paralegal, you have to make sure that you keep in mind that there may be some conflicts of interest because you can work for whatever organization you choose or attorney. So you have to make sure you're doing adequate conflict checks so that there is no conflict of interest with current and past clients that you're working for. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. The benefit to these alternative working arrangements is it allows you to work smarter. It allows you to work smarter as a paralegal, but it also allows firms to be smarter on how they are allowing their employees or freelancers to work because of technology. Technology now has allowed some very, very beneficial working relationships between firms and paralegals, independent contractors. So it's great to be able to take advantage of that, not only if you're a paralegal, but if you're a firm partner, if you're a firm administrator, if you have employees that are out. Instead of using a temporary agency, you can use a virtual paralegal or a freelance paralegal, build a relationship with them. So whenever you have individuals that are out sick or on vacation, then you can reach out to them. You can also use these different freelance sites, so you can go on there and hire, temporary virtual paralegals as you need them. And I know with Freelance, you can have different testing done so that you can ensure that the particular person that you're hiring knows particular systems. There's also a way to verify credentials and things of that nature so that you have more assurance that the person that you are hiring is actually going to be able to effectively work on that particular project or within that job when you have workers that are outside of the office or on vacation or have emergencies that have come up. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you have any questions, reach out to me, but post questions and comments in the discussion forum, and you can also have other participants that are enrolled answer questions for you. So thank you for your time, and have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week.